Yeah, grand rising to you all, comrades, and to the great people of Africa and the Pan Africans. Yeah, as always, my name is Pigeon or Comrade Pigeon Limwengu, and I am one who consider myself as the progressive Pan African, having dedicated my time for the last almost 3 years to work on Pan African issues in terms of educating Pan Africans for the purpose of liberation, unification, and development of Africa. I am the coordinator of Consensusism Study Group, which is the philosophy and ideology by Kwame Nkrumah for decolonization Africa, which should be our philosophy and ideology for decolonization. Look for that text if you haven't got in touch with the text. So permit me to today answer the most common and the most trivial issue in the continental space in regards to Pan-Africanism. And this is the question on whether we think that Traore is actually the right leader. Now, many people have asked that question, and many people are questioning whether Ibrahim Traore is a best leader. Some think he's the worst leader. Some think he's a dictator. Some think that, oh, because he joined the military, he's not the right person. Now, I'll answer that question guided by three components. One, first of all, we must understand that any citizen of any country, the so-called neo-colonial states, has the right, duty, and responsibility to defend and fight for their country, irrespective of the job they do. And that means that every citizen, whether young, old, woman, male, military, teacher, or a doctor, they all have the responsibility to protect and defend their welfare. And therefore, it happens that Traore is a military officer. But the question is, do that then take away his right as a citizen to fight for what he thinks is right? The civilians use the ballot to challenge the system. What do the military have to use to challenge the system? Does it mean that the military must sit back, especially when their country is going in a wrong direction? And in fact, the majority of them, they do swear and take an oath to defend their nation, not the president. And therefore, to me, in that alone, I qualify the role of Ibrahim Traore trying to intervene so that he could save his country. He has a right to do that. And you tell me why you think he shouldn't have that right as any other citizen to intervene and defend the welfare of his people and his country. Now, the next question I was asked some times back when I attended the third anniversary of Traore's leadership just recently is that whether it is democratic enough. Now, democracy has two directions. The democracy brought by the colonization and the West to Africa is their democracy. Africa had its democracy, and our democracy was based on consensus, not on voting of the majority and the ballot. In fact, if you ask me, I'm of course one of those political aspirants as young people to change the leadership of Kenya through the ballot. But I'll tell you, the ballot, as we have seen in many parts of Africa, has just been used as a process to actually what we call is purify or sanitize an illegal system. Most of the people have found the ballot as just a way, as a ritual and normal tradition, rather than a space to bring true change in a country. And that I'll tell you with a simple example of the neighborhood Uganda, where Museveni can claim he has won 40 years in power. And every time they have a ballot and election, which tell you simply that's not right. So whether he got through military coup or democracy, let's look at the impact. In many countries, the election via ballot results to so many deaths, either contesting or protesting against election irregularity, where the election is unfair. There's a tribal clashes that goes on every time, or there's a fight between communities that result to many deaths. In Burkina Faso, the takeaway of the former president by Ibrahim Traore did not result to even deaths we see in serious or so common election by ballot we experience in the continent. So, in that effect, the takeover did not affect so much by killing many people, as it happens in the so called democratic processes. Now, whether it's democratic or I want to use the white man definition of what he called democracy. And the definition is that democracy is the rule by the people, for the people, with the people. So the interest is your ruling or your leadership should be to serve the interests of the people. Now, tell me the so called democratic elections, majority of them in Africa, as it result to the rule by the people, for the people, and with the people? The answer is no, because many presidents who have been elected, some of them have turned their countries into their family welfare. They are the president, their son are the military, their wives are the senate ministers, their relatives are whatever. So it has not been the rule of the people, but rather the rule of a few select individuals. Now for Traore, he is ruling the people by the citizens of that country. We have not seen his wife somewhere, his daughter somewhere, but he has picked men and women from his country to help save his country. And therefore, it qualifies to be rule of the people, by the people, and for the people. Because Traore is part of the people, so it's by the people. And therefore, to me, Traore's leadership picks the Western so called definition of democracy. It's a rule by the people, he's part of the people, for the people, he's doing it, and you've seen massive development is done for his people and with his people, whether they're military or not, they're people of Burkina. So that qualifies him being democratic. Somebody will ask, do you like, and I was asked, do I like his leadership style? The answer to me is yes, because the result that I see is tangible to the transformation of the welfare of the people of Burkina. There are roads you have seen. Some people tell us is propaganda, but even the failed states have their propaganda. We've seen factories, we've seen the country that was going down is coming up again. And therefore, that qualifies that his leadership style is effective since it results to the welfare of the people. And finally, the question is there hope for Africa as the young people and the progressive forces? To me, as a young, I call myself by age Gen Z, I see hope in Africa. And my hope in leadership currently is Ibrahim Traore. Is the hope of us, the younger people, is the hope of us, the new Africa, the people who aspire for a liberated Africa. He is our hope, and therefore it's our sole responsibility and duty to learn from him while he is still in power, defend him so that he can be there to do a lot, inspire us, and not to do the mistakes that happen by taking away of our great leaders like they did to so many of them. They did it to Nkrumah, they did it to Patrice Lumumba, they did it to Thomas Sankara, and it's our time to defend this our leader. And therefore, that is my message, that I feel Traore is the right leader and it's our duty to defend him. And what last thing he need to do is that he must start with his friends in the Sahel to fight for the total liberation of Africa, to support other neocolonial or other territories that are still under the neocolonial yoke, to get out of that and be liberated. In that way, we can form a united Africa. But if they stay alone as they are, other non-liberated territories will bring or topple them back as it has happened in our history. So their security and their safety and their prosperity lies on their effort to help liberate other territories in the continent. So do that and help us in order to safeguard the struggles and the fruits of your liberation. That Africa must totally be liberated. Thank you.